Yate, everyone. Hello, community. Hello, parents, staff, students. This is not going to be your typical address that I give, the weekly address, because we have something a little bit more meaty and very important that we'd like to talk about today. And we're going to address some threats that have been made in San Juan County by students and others, mostly via social media. And so we have invited Sheriff Shane Ferrari to speak with us. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this over to him real quick. So, Officer Ferrari, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Sheriff Ferrari.
We appreciate you very much, and thank you for having me on and being able to address the students, parents, and faculty of Central Consolidated School. As you all know, over the last week, we've had an abnormal amount of school threats happening over social media. When I say abnormal, normally we don't experience these. Yeah, we do during the normal course of the year. We see 2 or 3s occasionally come up. But what has happened here recently is we had an initial threat, which really sprung out to many of what we deem kind of copycat threats that have been happening. So it has definitely caused a strain, not only on law enforcement resources, but a panic within our community. So I want to thank you again for inviting me on so I can address some of those issues, some of the things that we were experiencing, and really give some education not only to our students, but our parents. So thank you.
You bet.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that. And you know, the main thing that I want to get across to the CCSD community is that we have done all kinds of measures this year to make sure that our school district is safe. And I know that this district is safer than it has ever been right now. And I feel like I should say that again. Right now, we are as safe as we've ever been. And I've been in this district for 25 years, so I know what I'm talking about. Officer Ferrari, we did have a couple things happen on social media within this district. What I'd like to know is how do we handle them, and how do you handle them at the Sheriff's Department? What kind of things happen to students who do those things?
Well, we take these type of cases extremely serious. You know, we experienced the tragedy of a school shooting that happened right here in San Juan County. So I can tell you, we have a huge investment in the safety of our children and our school and our faculty. But, you know, we have a very emotional involvement in it for those of us that were there during that day, myself included. Probably by far one of the worst days of my law enforcement career, having to see that tragedy, not only to what happened to the victims, but also the panic and the fear in those children and those teachers' eyes. We see that, unfortunately, in this country, time and time again across this nation of school shootings. And the question is always why? How did these things happen? But we're talking about school shootings in particular when those happen. But we experience a far greater number of threats. And a lot of times, an individual, a student, may feel that it's going to be funny or humorous to go out and put out some type of panic in the community. Maybe they don't want to attend school the next day. Maybe they decided it's a Friday and they should just shut them down. But we take those threats just as seriously as we do that really has evil intentions. We cannot ever assume that somebody was just making a joke. So when we investigate these are top priority. We push all other cases aside and we focus on a threat that may be out there. Oftentimes, as you know, these people aren't listing their names. They're just saying there's going to be a school threat. They give a location, they give a possible time. So we are under a timeline. So it is all hands on deck to find the source of this information. And we work very closely not only with our law enforcement partners, we work with social media. Social media, you need to know. They have a law enforcement wing that works very closely with us so we can obtain that information very quickly and who is not only the recipient of it, but who is the sender. So it helps us expedite our investigations and find out who that person is that's behind this threat. We also have a great working relationship with Central Consolidated Schools. A majority of their security staff that they do have are former law enforcement, some that I've worked with personally. These are relationships that go back decades. So they are very aware of our investigative process. They're very aware of the things that we need, which really help us because we don't have to educate somebody on what we need to do. They already are very well informed, very well educated. We immediately partner up and we set the goal to task as far as finding out who these individuals are so we can get them in custody as quickly as possible. I'll touch a little bit on the 3 incidents that we had here within the Central Consolidated School and what my office investigated. 2 of the suspects have already been placed into custody. We'll have another one in custody here soon. But every one of these, it was just a joke. One specifically made the statement, "I did it for giggles." This is no laughing matter. It doesn't matter if we knock on somebody's door at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's no joke. They just want to say it's a joke. It's not a joke with us, and you will be leaving with us. We take these and we will prosecute them to the full extent of the law, regardless of what your intentions may or may not have been.
So explain that when you say prosecute to the full extension of the law. What exactly is going to happen to these students? Because, I know a lot of cases they might be a 13-year-old and they think it's a prank.
Correct.
And that it'll just probably be dealt with as a prank. What exactly is going to happen to these students?
So children in the state of New Mexico don't technically commit crimes. They commit what we call delinquent acts. But still, they are what would be a crime if they were an adult. So these crimes, or these type of delinquent acts, if you will, are not handled at a magistrate court level. They're handled at the district court level, which is the higher court, the highest court that we have within our county. And the reason being is because the person is a juvenile, and they consider the district courts the family courts. But although they feel that they're a juvenile and there's no repercussions from it, there absolutely is. Incarceration, sentencing, possibly to the youth detention center, probation, counseling, monitoring, home jail or home arrest, if you will. Not to mention the financial impact that it'll have on your family. Your family's going to have to hire an attorney. Your family's going to have to pay court costs. Your family's going to have to pay fines. Just because you're a juvenile does not mean that those repercussions will not affect you because you're a juvenile. And so essentially, it is just the same as an adult that had committed a crime. However, there are just more players involved. Juvenile probation's involved. The school system's involved. As you know, a lot of these kids, they are still in school, so we still want to try to make sure these children are educated. We actually have a school that's inside our youth detention facility to make sure. So just because you go to jail doesn't mean you get to skip school. We have school right there. So you may got the Friday off, but from there on, they're going to be incarcerated, and you're still going to attend school. So it is a little bit more complex than what we deal with adults, but it's still just as severe in the end, and it has a further impact because it affects your family. It's going to affect your parents. They're going to be called into question. And I think this is a great time to bring up the point that, when we talk about these crimes, where do they start from? They start from a cell phone. They start from social media. So I encourage parents. I mean, it's very tempting to, on your kid's maybe 12th birthday, to give them an iPhone and not have any restrictions on it whatsoever. But now that child not only has the ability to get on these social media platforms, to say what they want on an international basis, they have access to all these different apps. They could be subjected to different types of harassment, bullying. They could be subjected to even online predators. So it is the responsibility of the parent, when you allow your children to have a cell phone, to make sure that you are actively involved in that piece of technology. You have to be. We encounter calls, and probably one of our highest growing crimes we have is crimes of technology. And it's pulling more of my resources and people being involved in this. Again, threats that are happening on live, sexual exploitation that's happening, threats such as this that are happening. So we dedicate a lot of resources into that. If we have our parents being actively involved in their text message, in their social media, restricting access to certain things, that can help curb a lot of this that we're having to deal with on a daily basis. So if you do not have parental restrictions on your child's phone, look into that now. Yeah, you're going to catch some grief from your children. I can understand that. But sometimes we have to take a few steps back to take a few steps forward. And I really think it's warranted, especially with your younger children. And that range from about 8 to some. I've seen kids with smartphones at 8, from 8 to really up into that 17-year-old mark. You need to be active in what is happening on that phone.
Well, it's great to know. Matter of fact, we have students who have cell phones at 6 nowadays.
It's younger and younger than they get access to this. But remember, all of these cell phones have parental restrictions on them. Remember, there are a lot of social media platforms that require you to be 18 to access them. And these kids are either accessing them on their own with fake birth dates, or the parent just realizing that's part of socializing nowadays, allowing them access to that. So it does open up a lot of issues. So I encourage you, look at those parental restrictions on your children's phones. Be active in what they are doing on that phone. I know some people may feel it's somewhat intrusive that your child has privacy rights. They do to a certain degree, but remember, when they are sharing this type of information, it's going public. ultimately, you as a parent are going to be questioned into the why were they given access to this, and if you were aware of what they were doing. I think in the end, when it falls on your shoulders, you're going to have a lot more feeling of I should have been more involved with this. I should have known what was going on.
Absolutely.
And again, it's not a matter of being nosy. It's a matter of us caring for our children and properly bringing them up in this age of technology.
Sure.
And there's a lot of parents out there, I do understand, that aren't very technically savvy. They do need to understand that. Even gaming devices, these youngsters can get onto chats and different things, and there are sexual predators that are out there that are surfing these different gaming sites and stuff looking for victims. You need to be aware of that.
Good. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And, I just want to thank you and your department, because in all these situations, so we hear about them pretty quickly because somebody shares them and gives them to us. And within a couple hours, we're on it. I'm amazed at how fast the Sheriff's Department and Farmington Police, with the ones that they had, they figured out exactly where it came from in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
And to me, it's amazing because it seems anonymous. It's posted as an anonymous thing. Next thing you know, these kids are under arrest and they're having all kinds of consequences.
I will tell you, if it's connected to an electronic device, it is not anonymous. Just because you did not put your name on there does not mean that we're not going to find out where it came from. And it's no secret, I'll let you know right now, we will find where that came from. I do want to caution, and you talked about it being shared quite a bit. And quite often, those that are responsible, if they run across a threat, they immediately notify us. But what we find is this firestorm occurs, and I can understand the intention of a young person seeing a threat and wanting to share it to their friends and warning them. But you have to remember, now you're spreading that information and causing us to go down more rabbit holes into this tangled spider web of where the source came from. So that's exactly what these guys want. That's exactly what these people that want to strike fear into our community, these people that just want to intimidate and harass us, that's what they want. They want to see how far it'll go and that they were the cause. They actually get some type of sick gratification out of it, to causing harm and causing this panic within our community. So I encourage you, do not share those things. Share them with us. Let us find the source of it. And the more you spread it out, the more it can be more difficult for us to solve and investigate it in the beginning stages of it. So share it with us. Let us get on top of it. If it's shared to us, immediately what we do is we share it with the schools. We want to let them know that we're aware of the threat. We want to let them know that this threat was been made. Let them make the proper notifications to parents. And it's always my mission to make sure by the parents find out about it, within a few hours I can send up another message saying we have that person in custody.
Good.
And because we will share no expense and no resource. I do want to mention also that as many know, we're short on law enforcement officers across this country and in this community. So when we have to pull resources off from emergencies to handle these situations, which is very warranted, it may be your family, it may be your friends that are in need of resources that we can't get to because we're tracking down just these dumb threats that are being made. But we don't consider them dumb. We consider every single one of them serious.
Good deal. Hopefully everybody heard that. The most important thing right there was what he just said about that. If you see that, if somebody sends it to you, if you're a parent, if you're a student, immediately notify law enforcement. Don't send it to another student or another parent or anything like that. Notify law enforcement right away. And I think that's about the end of this, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you have one more.
One other thing I want to touch on that was mentioned is sometimes parents become frustrated because they get a message that's saying that there's been a school threat, and they kind of felt like they're just hanging with this warning, and they don't receive a lot of information about the investigation and what stages we are in the investigation. I would just ask that you be patient with us. When we are conducting an investigation, we are trying to keep the details to that investigation as close as we can so we can track down the original threat. So again, just like we don't want information spread out through the community, if we feel there's pertinent information and it's of a safety concern, an immediate concern, we will absolutely release those details. But I just ask for your patience. My detectives work very hard. A lot of times they're waiting on search warrants and different things. What we want to do is give you accurate, good information, and not just we're at the same place we were an hour ago. We want to give you information that says we have got this person into custody. We are working with the schools at this point. So just be patient with us as we undergo these investigations. So I thank you for that.
All right, again, thank you, Sheriff Ferrari.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
And,
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yep.
We can do this again sometime,
Anytime.
hopefully.
Thank you. Do
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thank you all.
Hagona, everyone. Thank you again for listening. Take care. You be safe, and we'll make sure the students are safe. Have a great weekend.